So for decades, football clubs competed throughout better scouting, better networks, and better information. Today, artificial intelligence is adding an entirely new layer to that competitive advantage. The question is no longer whether AI will influence recruitment as quant planning, but how quickly clubs can adapt to it. Our next speakers are helping organizations answer exactly that question. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Gemini Sports AI, Jake Schuster, and he will be joined by the new head of football and the Premier League captain for more than 300 games, Matt O'Ackley. Please. We'll provide one more microphone and just one more thing. Did you get a device? There it is. Right. Here's the microphone and the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina, and thank you, Edward, for the invitation. My name's Jake Schuster. I'm the founder of Gemini Sports. We're a Miami-based technology company. I worked in professional sports for 9 years, and I realized the problem consistently everywhere that I traveled. Executives who make critical decisions don't have the information that they need in the format that they need it.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Matt Oakley. I've been in football now for over 30 years. I played football for 22 years as a professional. I played in the Premier League for 10 years, making 300 appearances. I then had to reassess my career through an injury. I then ended up in the Championship, moving down the levels. Eventually, I retired at 40 years old, amassing 700 appearances. And then for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been working in the recruitment and strategy area of the football clubs, working with managers, coaches, ownerships. And now I've become head of football for Gemini Sports.
Who here has ever been fired from a job? Certainly both of us. Come on, everybody. Raise your hands. Okay. And of those, who has been fired before they thought it was reasonable? Before the timeline when your owner or your boss or your business partner said, we're going to work through this project. Happens to all of us. So today we're going to talk about some realities of the sporting director and what we can do about it. So according to Google, the average tenure of a UEFA licensed club sporting director is a little over 2 years. I think that's bad data because there's a few outliers that drag the numbers up. Most of the time, it's between a year and a half, which means we all want 3 windows. We all talk with our ownership groups that we need 3 windows to build our squad. Very common. We typically get about half of that. What's that feel like, Matt?
Yeah, ownerships, have these amazing plans on paper. In the last job I had, we had a 5-year plan. We were taking over a club that were getting relegated. We were given 2 years to get them back out of that division. We did that in the first year. In the second year, things didn't go well in the league above, so we probably weren't quite ready for that league. And we were changed quickly for a new set of staff.
Is there ever a right time to innovate? It doesn't feel like it. I hear from sporting directors all the time. Let me get settled here. Let me assess the situation. Let me get through the end of season. Let me get through the window. And inevitably, no offense, the next text is, I got fired. I have some time. Let's talk. So what's it like when you get this new job, ownership is convinced you have a grand vision, you get in, and you look what's around you? What's that like?
Very difficult. Like I say, you've got plans from the top down. You've got your own ideas. You want to put them into practice. But that first period, you're finding out what staff you've got in the club, who's good, who's not, what players you need to move on, what players you need to get in. A hell of a lot of information that's being pushed towards you from staff within the business, and key information can get lost in that time.
And then, before we know it, we're 3 months in. We're a quarter of the way into a season or a year, and we're trying to understand what's happening. Maybe we've got the coach of our choice in, maybe we've got the results we want, maybe we don't. How does that feel? How do the conversations with ownership change?
Well, it's all about results, right? Football is about results and success. Depending on what your results are, is it you need to be at the top of the league? Is it you're bringing in new players and you're selling players to make financial gains? You need to work out what your success is. And at the start, everyone's on the same page. But middle of the season, if things aren't going well, then ownership start to ask questions, the emotion comes in, and then things start to go bad.
And we arrive at the messy middle. We might be reminding our investors, I do this in my business all the time, we're reminding our investors, remember that agreement we had? Remember those expectations we set? Remember I said if you don't spend money, we might not get the results we want? Well, here we are. And who's to blame? So let's face reality. There will never be an easy time to innovate. I'll keep saying that over and over. Because you have to make something of the situation that you have and the chaos that you're dealing with. And you have to find ways to actually innovate and actually get results. Nobody cares about the excuses. Nobody cares about the injury your best player had. Nobody cares if the coach played the wrong players or didn't want to play the players that you bought for them. So let's consider, is there a better way than just having this experience over and over every 18 months and saying, well, the owner didn't listen, the coach was bad, the players got injured, and then you're in your next job and you're doing it all over again. Nobody wants this. So let's pause and think about technology. Matt, you've had a few technologies pitched to you over the years. What were they like?
Clever products, all in their own right clever, but it's the timeline that's the most difficult thing, is implementing these technologies into football. That's why I've joined Gemini Sports, because they make it simple. We can't have a data product or technology product coming in and it takes you 6 months to get everybody on board. It has to be fast. You cannot waste time.
Yeah, I was the first adopter in my league of 3 or 4 different technologies when I was a practitioner, and often they'd call me and ask how the 1-month trial had gone, and either I hadn't had time to take it out of the box or I couldn't figure out how to log in. I think we've all been there. So whether we're using Uber, Airbnb, Spotify, or a product in football, what's technology really for? In my mind, it's 3 or 4 things. Eliminating friction, allowing you to do things faster, allowing you to achieve what you want without something in the way. Connecting people, different departments, different stakeholders, aligning, making communication easier. Allowing information to be accessible so that you can get the information you need without having to work too hard for it. And ultimately getting more done and reducing the risk of mistakes. Because bad decisions might mean your job. So that's why we created Gemini, to make it an easy-to-use co-pilot, single source of truth, command center for the modern sporting director to make all of their transfer decisions, to have all the information that they need in one place so that they can actually win the market. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, oh great, another sophisticated piece of technology, maybe pushing analytics at us, maybe not, saying AI over and over again, well, I created this because I wanted things more simple. Matt, did you own a computer before you left football?
No. I had to teach myself different programs, build presentations for owners, build presentations for managers, coaches, to explain, where we are. Where are we at? That's the biggest question that you get in this role. But now using Gemini, we can sit in a room, put things on the screen. It's interactive. It's fast. We don't have to wait for information from an analyst, from a scout, from financial parts of the company. It's all in one place and it's on your phone.
Can we all agree that this industry runs on WhatsApp? It's kind of unavoidable. It takes time to build a technology product that works. That's why so many clubs that try to build in-house fail. But ultimately, the moment that I knew that we were onto something is when I was sitting with a 60-something-year-old sporting director in Southern Europe who said, I can actually use this. And he doesn't own a computer. So I'll just run through a few minutes of what this looks like and how this can work to actually be effective in the market. There's a lot of products that I saw that have scouting reports, or they have data, or they have information from agents, but bringing that all into one place is hard. That's why clubs are starting to employ data engineers, and they are expensive. So we're actually bringing all of that information into one place, and we're trying to solve for the main moments that a sporting director has in their day-to-day and year-over-year workflows. From planning things out to actually doing the scouting work, aligning your departments, making the right decisions, and then having the continuity to look back and see what happened and what we learned from it. I'm curious if anyone in the audience has one of these moments that stands out for them as the most difficult in their job. What we typically hear is that alignment is non-existent. I think we've all felt that. And that planning just takes way too much work. So a year into having this product in the market, here are some of the results that we're allowed to share. There's plenty that we're not. The most profitable club in Europe, early identification of a striker that's now on track to 10x their valuation, and a newly promoted club that is fighting for continental spots. We recently onboarded a Premier League club owner and chairman, and this is all he wants. Open the homepage, understand what I need to know this morning. You can't wait until you're in the middle of the day to have all the information that you need to take action on. You need it before you've finished your morning coffee. And you need to be able to speak in natural language. Thank you. It's all right. Technology's hard, isn't it? You need to be able to speak in natural language to your technology. Oh, all right. That's okay.
Just for a second, we're going to solve it out very soon.
Any questions so far?
Any questions, by the way? Do you have a question? Or maybe you already recognize Jake Schuster. He was on our previous Deal Done conference. Do you have a question for this AI expert? But we must admit that AI is taking the lead in many, many fields, especially in a sport.
It's changing our lives, and I think I actually said this in November when we were here last, is it's astonishing how many football clubs I walk into and I ask them how they're using AI, and they say, well, we haven't really had time to think about it yet.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm really sorry, but those people won't have a job in 6 months. They just won't. Or not a job as high as they've currently had.
But do you think they're going to lose the job in a way, or are they going to work better in a way that, I mean, of course they're going to work better if they have all these data resources, but they're really threatened to lose their job in a case if they don't know how to use it properly?
It's an important question, Nina, and I think something people are sleeping on when it comes to AI is it's more accessible than ever. That's what's so exciting about modern AI technology. Is my mother is a 67-year-old attorney, and she's building contracts using AI every day. And so I don't want to hear anyone say that they can't learn how to use it.
But do you really think the AI is that much trustable yet? You know, building the contract and just relying on that. But there are so many errors on AI still or not. We can rely or not.
Yeah, it's a really important question, Nina, and I think hallucinations have almost completely been eliminated, but the reality is that the AI will always want to make the user happy. It will always want to give you an answer that's satisfactory. So outright hallucinations, maybe naming players that don't exist or things like that, it doesn't really happen anymore, but recently we were looking up some coaches that we might contact that Matt worked with, who could do some business with us, and it recommended Sven-Goran Eriksson, who Matt was captain for. Unfortunately, he's been dead for 2 years. So this does happen with AI.
But I think they're working a lot on that to improve all these kind of things, and maybe next year we will not have any more of this kind of
I think this is the direction it's going, and I think it's all about how you construct your systems.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank
Perhaps
you.
now any questions until we're going to fix our presentation. No questions.
Okay.
But really happy to see you. Actually, Matt, Premier League captain for more than 300 games. That's really impressive.
Thank you. I was very lucky.
Is it all about the luck, or maybe can you tell us a little bit more, introduce us with yourself?
Yeah. I started at Southampton when I was 15. Back then we did like a 2-year scholarship, and at 17 I signed professional forms contract, and then I made my debut at 17. I played at what is now the old Everton Stadium in England, Goodison Park, 38,000 people. At 17 years old, it was pretty nervous day for me. And then I stayed in the Premier League for 10 years. Played in some successful teams and some not successful teams. But one of my dreams was to play at Wembley. And I was lucky enough to be the captain of a promotion-winning side, and I was able to lift a trophy at Wembley. So, yeah, lots of highs and lows, but some successes along the way, and now a different path for me is the technology side, because I think it's important. I think it's important in football. We've had lots of people talking, yesterday and today about, all of the things that make football difficult: agents, scouts, alignment, yeah, ownership, changes, financial money. Is there enough money to buy the right players? Data. But all that information has to come to one place, and the right person decisions.
Are
So
they
Gemini is something that I've been working with for a year, and now having worked with Jake, I've moved out of the football environment because I think this is a big thing.
Are these kind of nowadays, too many data, too many informations, too many agents, all these sources making the transfer and making all that recruitment easier or more difficult? What's your opinion, since you are that much long, since 17, if I understood well?
That was only 5 years ago, Nina.
Excuse me?
17 was only 5 years ago.
Oh, sorry.
I think data coming into the game has made it easier to get to a list of players. It's like a filter system, but data can't give you what a player's character's like, his mentality, what he does when there's bad moments, how does he react? Those types of things are what human beings are. The scouts. The scouts are important, really, really important, because they see those things. They go and watch the players. Data and technology has now taken scouts onto their screens. They're looking at games a lot more on video. They don't get to see and feel those players. So data helps them get to a list. Again, Gemini helps us get to lists and decision-making fast, and then we get scouts to games to see the real players in the real environments.
Yeah, I'm understanding you're relying on data. These are like the basis, but then comes all these layers like player skills, adaptation, also adaptation to the new league and so on. So yeah.
Yeah, I think what we've seen is almost anybody can stand up on a stage like this and say, oh, best practice is a mix between data and scouting. Mm-hmm. Of course. It's like saying you should eat some protein and some vegetables. But then what do we do about it? Do we just work in completely different silos and hope that people communicate? Or do we try and communicate in one platform?
All right, thank you. I think now it's fine.
Thank you very much, team. Great job.
I dragged your time a bit.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, team. As we were. Thanks, everyone, for your patience, and thank you, Nina. Just to say, we recently onboarded a Premier League team owner who wanted to use this. I pray for his staff of all the fun ideas that he's going to have now with this technology in his hands, but we will help with that. And ultimately, it's just important to emphasize what does he want? What do they want? To be able to communicate in natural language, to be able to talk into your phone and not just ask questions. That's basic AI. We're past that now. We're into the agentic AI era. And I don't mean player representation. I mean autonomous machines working for you, able to take action, where a billionaire doesn't have time to say, hey, go watch this player, hope that they receive the text, hope that they acknowledge it, and on and on and on. They just need to say one sentence into their phone and move on with their day. So what are we really looking for with this kind of technology in the transfer market? Understanding what's happening, right? We're solving for where are we at, and then keeping it simple. The sophistication is under the surface. It's the iceberg beneath the water. And then we can actually know, is this player good enough? Does this player fit our needs? Are they appropriately priced? What does our staff say about them? So I decided to do a little bit of an exercise to show the product in some real-life context. I don't know anything about Red Star Belgrade. I don't know much about this league. but I decided to take a look at their current transfer window. So please, someone in the audience, correct me on this. I'd love to understand it better. But Red Star Belgrade's squad is somewhat obviously the best in this league, but they didn't make it through Champions League qualifiers last season, and they want to in the future. So they need to level up some weak spots. They're selling some young players for great prices that they have to replace, but we all have what we call deadwood, players that we need to move on that aren't as wanted. And this is the least exciting part of our job, and we have to do it. Matt, did you ever encounter technologies that helped beyond talent identification to help you move players out?
No, not really, and it's not something that's the main part of what your plans are, really. It's all, how much budget have I got? What players do we need in? What are the profiles? What does the manager and the coaches want? But you might have, X amount sitting in your squad that's what we call surplus or dead wood. You need to get those players out. That could be 2 or 3 players coming in. And if these players have got agents and, they don't want to move those players, that's a massive problem. So having technology to support that, match those players to other teams and have those conversations, that's what we do at Gemini.
Something we've learned recently as well is agents want help moving their players on from situations where they're not doing well. Maybe sometimes you want to stay and earn a contract, but usually you want to move on to another opportunity, and agents have actually often really been excited to have some help collaboratively with technology that their clubs are using to move players on. So we're happy to chat with any agents in the audience about that. The next step is to replace those key exits, right? So Red Star recently sold a very expensive, very talented teenager. Who's going to be the next one? Who's the next man up? How can we look for similar players to that player in one click? And again, this isn't an unusual feature set in any piece of technology, but is it including all of the information you need, and is it just one click away? Can we see all the information that we're looking at collaboratively together, scroll through it, visualize it? And can we understand where someone stands, not just in their league, were they a standout performer? How would they translate to our league algorithmically? Then we need to build out these scenarios so that we can present them to the board, understanding the buying and the selling, not in a silo from finance, but actually under one roof. I think we've all experienced where we have a recruitment meeting and then we walk across the hallway, speak to the accountant, they're in a spreadsheet that we don't understand, and we don't even have access to. How does that feel?
Well, one of the biggest things for owners is understanding what's going on. So I spend a hell of a lot of time building presentations for the owners to know where they're at. I've been working with Gemini now for about 12 months. That completely changed my life. I was spending days and days building presentations. I can now put it on the screen. It's interactive. They can ask questions. We can move players from one section to the next. We can understand what the financials are. If we're selling a player and bringing a player in, or if we're loaning a player, all of those things are key decisions. We don't want to be in one meeting, then we go out there into another meeting, or 2 days later we can get together again. It's just wasted time, dead time in a football club.
Can we all agree that it's a waste of an executive's talent to be building PowerPoint presentations? Ultimately, ownership just wants a simple page. Money in, money out, wage bill changes, capital gains, amortization, and not missing information that you have to deliver later. And then many owners still want it even simpler. Can you just boil it down into one page? Now, this is not beautiful, but it is simple. And what I find is a lot of clubs are using software platforms and then going and doing something in parallel and duplicating the work. So that's why we knew we had to have an amazing API, mostly worked on by my senior engineer, Mark, in the back, if you have any questions. And you can use Claude, you can use Grok, you can use the AI tool of your choice to speak to your own database, your own technology, your own information, your own scouting reports, and build any kind of report you want based on the format you need. So I use this to build micro websites every day for stakeholders. Coming back, ultimately technology just needs to help you get more done and reduce the risk of a bad decision. That's all we want, is to make our lives easier and make better decisions. We believe we've delivered a unique approach to this, and we'd be excited to discuss with anyone outside. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I already used my time. Do you have right now any questions for our speakers? If not, we are proceeding, and I would just like one more round of applause. That was Jake Schuster and Matt O'Eckley. Am I right?
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice to see you.